A shard is like a poor man's core, but beggars can't be choosers. That's it. Few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place. The shard's got enough juice to spruce up any of these places. Takes a lot of moving pieces to make a dependable sidearm. Stay absinthe is like drinking a cool breeze. Just don't go spitting needles everywhere. Javel. The gods never liked competing for people's affections. Kid takes another drag, goes out like a light. There's something you should know about the kid, but let me take it from the top. The past catches up with the kid. Hardly had a moment's rest since all this started. Fair to say he's led a hard life, supposing what he says in his sleep ain't no lie. He never knew his old man, but he had his mama to take care of. Frail thing with pure white hair like his. Having his mama's hair did the kid no favors while he was growing up, but he learned to hold his own out there. School ain't working out, so the kid signs up for a turn on the rippling walls. Make his mama some money. Thanks to folks like the kid, the walls kept Ceylondia safe from whatever's out there. The elements, the Ura, you name it. Once the kid done his time, he hurried on home. Turns out his mama's time was done too. The city had nothing for him. The money he'd been sending home was nowhere to be found either. So what'd the kid do? Why, he went right on back to the walls for another 5 years. In the history of Caelondia, nobody's ever volunteered for a second shift on the walls. Out there, kid learned to fend for himself. Learn to build. Learn to break. In time, the kid earned good standing with the marshals. They trusted him to scout out farther than anybody. Wait, where was I? One night, on one of his expeditions, the ground beneath him shuddered, cracked, and split apart. He saw nothing where the world used to be. The calamity happened just like that. All the kid had to work with was his hammer and the clothes on his back. Through twisted streets, he ran with nothing but the city crest and an old stranger's voice to guide him. The past don't matter for nothing now. The city tried to use the shards to stake out the wilds. So much for that plan. Ankle gators used to roam the wilds, and they nested at Rotha's Lagoon. Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. All kinds of beasts what don't know up from down, still lurking about. Only the city's brushers knew their way around the lagoon. These beasts, they don't like company. Even the brushers learned to fear this place. They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. One of them's been living in the tall grass. They called her Queen Anne. The lagoon's got plenty of other dangers, of course. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. Know what smells worse than an ankle gator's breath? A stinkweed. Ain't time for pecker hunting, but the kid can't resist. Can't fight Queen Anne without the proper tools. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance around here. Now the kid can do the same. Sharp sticks make Queen Anne nervous, so she backs off a bit. Kid's got a mean throwing arm. Those pin cushions been living off the ankle gator's scraps. Queen Anne can't fit down some of these narrow paths. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. He holds his ground. Seems the Queen's running out of options. Still no sign of the shard. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. Kid's gotta make a run for it. Those leaping lunkheads don't like Queen Anne any better than the kid. Queen's got one mean bite. Queenie must have scared a bunch of peckers out of hiding. Seems even stinkweeds know to stay away from the queen. Ankle gators don't much care for their young. That's why there ain't many around. Wanna know how to find an ankle gator lair? You use a kid as bait. Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. The shard's sitting in plain view. They say if you run across an ankle gator, you better keep running. She's starting to get annoyed. Made her mad. Rest in peace, Queen Anne. That was for the brushers. He's got it, and he's home free. Kid's done what needed to be done. Queen Anne's reign is over. We even got a crown jewel. Still no mail. Go figure. That Gator's a crazy gal, but so's the gal who promised to look after her. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. All that trouble for a single shard, but you know what? It was worth it. The memorial may be finished, but our part is far from over. The menders, they had thankless jobs, the most important kind. I've asked a lot of the kid, but this is something he's done on his own. Want to keep the wilds at bay? Pack yourself a musket and a pike. To fix a brusher's pike, you just need a good length of knife bark. Don't want that thing leaving your hands until you decide it's time. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. To prepare for the wilds, Caelandia's brushers practice at Camp Donce. Had to navigate a maze of pincushions with nothing but a pike. It's a dangerous test for a dangerous job. Sometimes the course was brutal. Health tonics were off limits at Camp Donce. They said they made you weak. The rules said he couldn't use any fancy footwork, just your brains and your pike. Just getting through the course in one piece was an accomplishment. You can see why the brushers prize those pikes of theirs. Gotta make sure the pointy end's fastened on real tight. Know how Caelandia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. Caelandia lost many good men on the rail. But now, the greatest outpost past the city line is nothing but a freak show. The army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. kid might as well pick up where they left off. Blam, just like my fighting days. Gun like that can even put the wilds in check. Point Lemaine seen better days for sure, but it ain't done. Whole place shudders in a fit. The Grand Rail of Point Lemaine. Not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand Rail's all grown over with things the Calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid lets a few of them slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they owned the place. Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers coughing fungus everywhere. Place used to be closed off, but now it's split open like a rotten pineapple. Of course, the Grand Rail's seen much more fighting in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Ura-Celandian War. It was right here that Zolf's Ura forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. Not much wiggle room up there near the rail. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While shooting a genuine registered army carbine? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. He'll be picking swamp weed out of those boots for days. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. At first, he thinks it's Zulf. Turns out he's wrong. "This is for you," says the man. Then wham! When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. The only words Kid recognizes on that parchment are for Zia. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? Finding gourmet ingredients ain't easy these days, but we'll take what we can get. The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. He ain't all that shy. Zulf's messenger was one of his people. Wondered just how many of them survived, and what exactly Zulf told him. Kid arrives just in time to sample Zia's famous cooking. He wolfs down too much too fast, and it all goes to his head. I've said a lot about the kid, but he ain't the only one wrapped up in all this. What's he thinking? Well, let me see if I got this straight. I only heard it once. It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. The arsenal's complete, in case we need protection. The shards are getting harder to find. Not everything blew up in the Calamity. Why, Colford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. If you wanted to survive something like that, you had to learn to adapt. So in a way, the beasts of the wilds, they're all survivors too. It takes a certain stubborn pride to keep on living in a place like this. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Colford Cauldron. That learning led to some interesting inventions. The raw power of the world fell right into our hands. Playing with the cauldron's fires became an addiction. Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here. But we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. The unforgiving scent of sulfurous dirt. The taste of air so hot it sticks to your lungs. All sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. Never thought we'd find so much life in all that ash. The more ash we swept aside, the more life we found. Place as inhospitable as they come. It's awful hot in there. But still we pressed on. We kept on sifting through the cauldron's secrets anyway. After all, when we looked down inside Culford Cauldron, looked down through all the smoke and flames, we saw in there the heart of the world, the heart now laid bare by the calamity. We had to have it. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Charleston Bog. Kid's thinking he's got to trek all the way back around the cauldron. Luckily, the cauldron cooked up a little shortcut for him. Sure, it ain't the most convenient path. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. Pops open on him like a pimple on a school day. And where there's one stink eye, there's always more. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. The kid don't shed any tears for him, though. With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city. But all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it. He comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. We're all a little short on friends these days, so that's a welcome sight. They said the wild could never be tamed. If only they could see us now. The shard works like a charm. You can hear the monument's heartbeat again. Just the occasion to crack open the distillery's private reserve. Live wine so rich, they say it's brought men back from the brink for one last taste. At least it won't get cold round here with that thing around. On the inside, a fire bellows ain't nothing like its more popular air-spitting cousin. Now we can light him up or pin him down. Maybe both. The culture, a still life of old unwanted keepsakes. The brushers, they moved in shadows, but the calamity found them. Takes a careful touch to rattle those bones like that. We spotted a pecker carrying a shard to Mount Zan. Kid decides to keep working his aim and footwork on the shingle. Best time to pick a new spot was when swapping magazines. master trappers got what they needed for a better hunt. The trappers would have been impressed with how the kid handled the shingle.